I have one friend, Sasha, who works as a driver of a large truck. As a rule, he drives not far away and is always alone, without a partner. That time he offered me a ride with him. I did not refuse. I decided to take a ride to see the world and show myself. In general, we went to the neighboring region. It was late in the evening. It was hot. It was summer. The track was almost empty. For many kilometers, there is only the highway along the edges of its wide ditches, and beyond them, the forest. All the time. Christmas trees. We have already left the last settlement a little far. It was getting dark, but it was still light enough to see what was happening on the road. Suddenly, we noticed that there is something white right ahead on the highway. We drove closer. We look, and this guy is voting. He's dressed in light trousers and a white shirt, empty in his hands, without means of transportation, just a guy. How did he get here? Did you walk all the way? Or was it dropped off by someone? In any case, there were no other cars besides us, and we decided to stop and help if possible. Since we were driving pretty fast, we couldn't stop right away. We passed the guy. We stopped and waited. We thought he would run up to the cabin himself now, but a couple of minutes passed, but the guy didn't show up. We look out the window. No one, in the mirrors too. Where did the guy go? What if we knocked it down by accident when we were braking? Well, Sasha got out of the cab and went to look, and I'm watching out the window. I look. I turned behind the truck and disappeared from sight. 30 seconds have passed. Sasha flies out from behind the truck at breakneck speed, rushes to the cabin, takes off behind the wheel in a matter of seconds, locks up all the locks, and immediately takes off. I can't understand anything. Where's the guy? What happened? Why the rush? In a panic, I start asking questions, and Sasha just shakes his head and mumbles. He also waves his hand and shouts obscenities that he will tell you everything later. It even seemed to me for a moment that my friend even began to stutter. Well, that's it, I think. We hit that guy and fled the scene. Now I'm an accomplice, and if they find us, it won't seem enough to anyone. She was already upset and fell silent, and Sasha keeps driving. I've already wound up 10 kilometers in a hurry, but I'm not stopping. And along the way, as luck would have it, there is only a highway and a forest. At least what kind of village it would seem. So we drove, or rather flew, for about half an hour. Then the forest ended. We went first to the field. Then the settlement appeared. There is a cafe for passing cars at the entrance, and that's where we stopped. Sasha was barely shaking anymore, but he ordered vodka anyway. 10 minutes later, I still ventured to ask what had happened on the road, and I was already preparing to hear the most terrible thing. But my guesses, fortunately, were not justified. Everything was much worse and scarier. When Sasha got out of the car on the highway and went to look for that guy, he did not immediately find him. I turned behind the truck, and there was no one there. Sasha seemed to be about to leave. I thought that we had imagined everything from the heat and fatigue. But then I heard a low growl. Looking in the direction of the sound, Sasha was dumbfounded. The guy was no longer on the highway. There was a wide and deep ditch along the road, so this guy had already somehow managed to cross it and was standing near the forest near the bushes. Sasha did not see any bridge, crossing or log. How this guy got over 2.5 meters of water in his white trousers is not clear at all. Yes, he also stood with his hand beckoning. Let's go, they say, into the forest. And he was quietly growling, and his eyes were burning yellow. Sasha was almost paralyzed there at the sight of this sight. He picked up his legs and his arms and ticked from there until this monster devoured us all. I was stunned by my friend's story. It didn't fit in my head. Maybe I think I imagined it. After all, The kid is driving without a partner, tired and all that. But on the way back, we stopped at the same cafe and talked to a guy. He's a local. He works at a gas station. So he said that several cars had already been found on that highway. Empty, open, all the things are in place, but the owner is not there. The cops blamed everything on wild animals, bears and wolves. Like men, go to the forest in need, and there the animals devour them. Of course, no one will look for the true reason for the disappearance. I went to my girlfriend's house in a neighboring state by hitchhiking. It wasn't very easy to catch cars, and it was late in the evening. On the highway at night, everything is completely different from during the day. You never know what can happen. While I was thinking like that, a car stopped a little ahead. I drove off at a light trot, and thanking the driver from the bottom of my heart, I sank into the cozy seat with pleasure. We exchanged a few phrases with the driver. I didn't ask for his name, so I'll call him that. Then we drove in silence. It is clear that the driver himself was tired on the road. He slowed down, turned the radio on, found nothing, turned it off, found nothing, turned it off. And I'm sitting, thinking about the friends I was driving from, about the girl, in general, about something of my own. Half asleep, I look at the bright spot from the headlights, which periodically pick out bright road signs from the darkness. There weren't any oncoming cars for a long time. The sky is only far, far bright, and here night has already descended above us. I look at this yellow spot on the road, and have probably been asleep for a long time, because I saw a gray figure far ahead on the road. The gradually increasing figure stood on our side, but the car did not slow down. It even seemed to speed up. Without turning my head, I looked at the driver. His face was frowning. His eyelids were half closed, but he was clearly not asleep. I look at the figure again. It is already clear that it is a man in a gray coat, and something dark is put on his head. He was facing us. I already started fidgeting in my seat and taking a deep breath to say something, only, right in front of the hood. The man disappeared. There was no knocking. No detour. There was nothing. The car was going straight on and on. I feel like I'm sweating instantly. I'm sitting there, not moving. The driver is silent, and so am I. After all, I think I dreamed about the figure, and before the collision, therefore, I woke up. In general, I decided to keep silent. Why bother the driver with my incomprehensible dreams? A few minutes later, the car slowed down and gently pulled over to the side of the road. They stopped, turned off the engine, and the driver got out. Me too. He looked back at the road, quietly and deeply inhaling the cool night air. Then he said, in a noticeably hoarse voice, "A regular bus overturned here. A couple of months ago, people died, and now they walk like this. It's not the first time I've seen it. Let's go." I got into the car in silence, and we moved on. I didn't sleep again that night. I just remember later, owls, a lot of owls, were sitting on the road. Our headlights were shining in our eyes.
Ha 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 ha!